for that. But it didn't. Nothing felt like it was getting in the way. It's because I suppose the lack of the errors as well helps.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Just a quick one.
Yep.
Does the penalty try not count as a penalty then?
I don't know. So I don't know. That's why I said 8 and 6.
Yeah.
Plus a penalty try. I'm not sure how it counts.
No, me neither. No, I'm not sure either.
I've never reviewed that in the stats. I'll have to go back and look. Well, like we were saying, it's only the second in Origin in its history. The last one being 1981, so that was before I was born. And I can't think of too many penalty tries that got given to ever have gone back and recounted that. But yeah, what are your final thoughts then before we say goodbye on this after a 2-0 lead, unassailable lead? The New South Wales have won Origin. How do you feel?
Amazing, just absolutely amazing. It feels great. It's a different feeling from winning a grand final. Cas fans would not know anything about that, but as soon as I'm talking to a Wigan fan, then you'd know all about that. That it feels great. It feels like it's a relief. This is something a little bit
without a casting.
No, no, not from the bullshit that I've seen this week. But it's from. Yeah, it feels like a grand final, but it's almost better in a certain way. It might feel like if St Helens had have ever beaten Leeds in a grand final, but they haven't.
5 in a row.
That's right, yeah. But if they could imagine what a victory would feel like, it might feel something like that. But it's difficult to kind of deal with all that loss. It's kind of humbling because you know that there's nothing between the sides and it's always won, even though Queensland are all those great players.
It would be like if we played Aussies this year and beat them after losing narrowly twice last year in the World Cup.
That's right. Yeah, and it feels great and it is brilliant, but it's just you're never disrespectful of the opposition because you're just in absolute awe of all the players, you know, and you and as soon as the beauty of Origin is for me, because you watch so much rugby league over here, because it's all on the telly, you love all the players and all the teams. And as soon as the Origin period's over, you can go back to loving Queenslanders, because, you know, Ponga's my favourite player, but I hate him for 6 weeks. And it's like, you know, it's and I was stood next to him in the airport, a load of them, like Greg Inglis and McCulloch and all that. And they were all saying goodbye to each other at the airport when I've been to the Melbourne game, and you just sat in amongst them, and they're just so humble people, and it's great because it is really a spectacle, and it is the best versus the best, and it is a bloodbath for 6 weeks, and then everybody goes back, they go back to the teams and play with each other, so it's quite a unique spectacle, but just absolutely. It is the pinnacle of the game.
I was going to close by asking if there was a particular man of the match, but the way you've talked about all the players and the way I felt watching the game, I'm not really sure. There was a standout performer because there was 34 standout performers.
That's it. I thought Cleary again was outstanding. He doesn't do anything, but he doesn't do anything wrong. He makes all the right decisions. There's so many times when he gets the ball and you could say, oh, no, it's happened. But if he'd have started to overplay his hand, it would have just gone to shit.
When you've got a young kid pace outside you as well, you don't really need to do a great deal other than make the right decisions at the right time. And that was one of the things that did help close this game down. Maloney and Cleary doing that in the last 10 minutes, I've got to say.
But I don't know who. I don't know who the man of the match was. In the early exchanges, it was blatantly Slater. But I think as the game went on, it was probably Maloney. But you know,
I thought Frizzell was huge in the second half defensively when he came back on, especially during that Simbin period. A big shout out to the Welsh there in the New South Wales. No, brilliant. Thanks for joining me, Rich. It's been great to get your immediate reaction on an absolute thriller.
It's always my pleasure.
Right, great stuff as always from Rich. We also had a view in from Karsten. I'm surprised we didn't get a bit more in on this, Brian, because it was such a great game. One definitely you need to catch up on once you've caught up on your sleep. But Karsten said, great game, wrong result. Some really bad decisions in the Queensland side and some stupid early kicks. New South Wales deserved a winner after a gutsy performance, even with 12 players. Polish the shield and keep it in good care. New South Wales will get it back next year. Queenslander. Okay. There was also 2 Pacific tests, Brian, which I'm sure you paid at least a passing interest to whilst you were overseas.
I was really interested, and last year I was actually at these matches, so
no, exactly.
It's really
you played again at Campbelltown, where you were last year.
Yeah.
there was 18,000 on by the end of the Tonga Samoa game. The crowd kind of drifted in for that first game. I really hope our doubleheader in the cup doesn't have a similar feel into it, and Warrington and Leeds fans get behind the first semi-final as well, because it was kind of a bit for what the atmosphere did not match the intensity that the PNGians put up on the field in this 26-14 win over Fiji. Carsten got in touch. He said Tonga with all the talent and PNG with all the passion. PNG were playing aggressive through the middle with some nice tries from both sides. Fiji looked like they were missing some passion in the game, and I think the two main takeaways I got from what I saw of this game is PNG played as a real team with that drive, with that passion, and really did go into this game like it was a huge important game, whereas Fiji were typified hugely by Jared Hayne, who just looked like he couldn't give a shit and didn't want to be there. And it was so disappointing that he just got himself out of the play more than he tried to get himself in the play, which is not what you want from from one of the top line players. So it's a disappointment there.
What do you reckon though with that PNG? So I see the England Knights are going to go to Papua New Guinea, aren't they, this autumn? What's
going to be a tough test?
From what you saw from that, I was going to say, what do you reckon that?
Well, when you throw into that PNG side David Mead as well, who's playing over here at the moment, and Wellington Albert as well, that'll bolster that side even further. And Lachlan Lamb. Do you remember Lachlan Lamb in the World Cup? Was this skinny kid?
Yeah.
With a bit about him. Well, he's put on muscle seriously.
Okay.
Since the World Cup, and he's now looking, pretty accomplished, to be honest, and every bit the NRL player in waiting, and so they've got all their issues sorted. Seguiaro was outstanding in this game as well, and like I say, you put Mead at fullback and switch Justin Olam back onto the wing, onto the right wing. The left winger who came in for Gary, how low can you go, is a player who's playing for the Hunters in the PNG Hunters in the Queensland Cup, and he's apparently banging the tries in for them. Well, he scored a couple of tries in this game, and was, looked a real finisher. So against a much more NRL experienced Fiji side, really.
Yeah.
So well done to PNG, certainly. In the second of the Pacific Test, it was Tonga 38, Samoa 22. Carsten got in touch as well. He said, "Woohoo! What a game!" The war cries before the game were laying the platform for how the game was to be played. Very intense, very high quality footy game with Jason Taumalolo with a fantastic try assist and even a grubber kick. All in all, perfect advertisement for International Rugby League. And that this game was. I mean, I thought it was all over at half time. I caught the second half of the first half, and Tonga kind of just were putting the points on here, really. They scored 3 tries to 1 in that period. 4 tries to none in that period, I apologise. And it just felt like it was going all one way. And then after half time, it seemed, like it was going to be that. They scored right after half time. They had all the ball, the position. Then Ao Hingano went off with an injury. I don't know if that changed things, because he's impressed me when he's played for Tonga. He looks like an organiser that I didn't believe he really was when I saw him play for New Zealand Warriors. So he's impressed me when he's done that for Tonga. But really, once it got to that point, Samoa sprung back into life and ended the game playing the better rugby in the second half, but just left it way too late against a very, very big physical quality team. Did you see the footage of the war cries?
No, I haven't seen any of this at all, because this one was on the red button. So
they got right up in each other's faces. You'll find this on YouTube, that footage, and it's the kind of thing that would sell our game to an American audience.
Yeah, I think it's great. I would
next year get this on as the curtain raiser to England, New Zealand.
Yeah, I think so. And I just want Tonga to play more matches. I know there's talk about them playing the Aussies at the end of the year.
Yeah, potentially in America or Canada as well. So apparently it's okay at the end of the year.
Yeah. I just think that'd be great. And I just want them to play more games, because I think that then it means that top NRL players will say, actually, there's nothing wrong with playing for Tonga or Samoa, because I'll be treated well. I'll actually be able to play for my country, as opposed to not knowing if you're ever going to get a game.
And I think it's really crucial, because one of the things that struck me is, obviously there's a lot of these guys who've grown up in Australia or New Zealand playing now for these sides to the second generation. There's still the odd first generation in those Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, that sort of sides, but most of them are second generation, and it's kind of like we're going to have to change the rules at some point then, because by what point do these kids become fourth generation and no longer qualify?
Yeah.
But what this is doing by having these regular games is getting the message back home to kids back home that there is a way out through sport.
Yeah.
And rugby league can bring this to you, and the passion and all of that stuff alongside that. I think that will put these nations in good stead for a longer period of time. And let's get the Fiji side in the New South Wales Cup, and let's get games being played in Tonga and Samoa, and let's get those kids seeing their stars up close and personal, and really building heroes for life and inspiration for the kids over in those countries, because otherwise it makes me worry what happens in 2 generations time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think you're right, because I think that's where you get it, because there's always going to be that migration, isn't it, from the island countries, to sort of either Australia or to New Zealand. They're going to be economic migrants, so that's going to happen. But I think if they can see actually that people from their country have got to the top in sport and they've got heroes, I think that's started to drive them down that route. And it's interesting you mentioned about Fiji in the New South Wales Cup, because I think that's sort of dead in the water, isn't it?
It's about as likely as Bristol entering League One next year, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that needs to get put back on the table, in my view. Okay, we had a couple of other results that people have commented on. So in the week, whilst you were away, the R-League app ran a couple of games, Brian, and one of them was GB Police versus GB Teachers, I think, was one of those games, because Dr. Hideous got in touch. He said, I saw this match advertised on the R-League app on Wednesday and thought, nope, don't care. Saw the scoreline later, 20 all at half-time, 36 all at the end, and I clearly needed to watch it on YouTube. I lost count of how many times the lead changed hands, and aside from some dodgy goal kicking early on and tired-looking errors from both sides in the last 10, there was plenty of good play from both sides. Yeah, there was a students' game.
Yeah, I saw that. That sort of flashed up while I was out there, and I saw that was on. I didn't watch it, but yeah, I think it's really good, that sort of our league app, that bringing some of these things together. And I know that Steve Mascord was talking about the potential for a sort of platform where all these different things that are a bit, a sort of common streaming service for rugby league matches.
Yes.
Yes,
I know that is very keen to get something off the ground. I also know that the guys at Proper Sport are really keen to get more streaming into our room, into our onto our computers or onto our TV screens and that sort of stuff. And if all these people can put their heads together and maybe not think so much about how do we make money out of this, but maybe think about how do we create a product that's sellable, and then money will come off the back of that, and we'll share it out how we can. But really,
and I think
let's leave a legacy for ourselves in this sport that we love.
Yeah, indeed.
That's given us our careers, and then go that way about it. And certainly there's something there.
Yeah, and I think if there's any sort of listeners who who don't follow rugby league on TV on Twitter, you need to. I just find that absolutely essential. Because any streaming that seems to happen around the world, any radio commentary, you just follow that through, and that'll take you through to the links. I just find that absolutely brilliant.
Yes, it does. Yeah, the other game we want to talk about was a semi-final in the League Championship campaign, I believe, in France, and it was Saint-Estève 13, Catalan against Avignon, and it finished 23-16. Alan Walker sent in a review. He said, away from the Origin undercard friendlies, competitive footy took place in North Catalonia. We won a good game against the best provincials. Tight first half, but we had good in the second. You won't think he's English the way he writes this. Tight first half, but we had good in the second. Roll on the grand final. Guess that's the same phrase as in English. Against the Grizzlies mountain men again. Big fuckers them are. We're ready. Bring it on. No, so that's really exciting. I'm sure Alan will give us full coverage of that, and hopefully there'll be some sort of link pop up to see how we can watch that maybe on YouTube, because there have been some of the French Championship games.
Yeah, there have. Yeah,
for us to be able to watch as well. Okay, brilliant. That's all the results. Wrapped up, sponsored by Dom's Toy Shop on eBay this week, and we're now going to look forward to next week with our preview and predictions. Okay, preview.